Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of Beyond the Ordinary Show. And y'all are in for a little energy healing, a little upliftment through some of the wackiness that may be happening right now in the field, the tiredness, the adjustments really that we're going through. And Zoe's going to talk to us today about the eclipse window, collapsing time, and so much more as we dive in, get perspective, and get perspective and get uplifted uh, with the excitement for what is here for us now and perhaps where it's taking us to. And it's with that, Zoe. Welcome to today's BTO session. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Hola from Mexico.
In Mexico, how are the energies in Mexico, Zoe?
Intense.
Oh, okay. Give us context for intense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just feeling all the feels with everything that's happening collectively, individually. And when I keep tuning in with my guides and asking, okay, how can I best navigate this experience right now? And how can I best support others? And whether you're listening to this pre-eclipse or post-eclipse on the replay, it's still just as informative. And what I keep being shown right now is an invitation for us to clear the decks and any sense of connection that we thought we had to material world, material physical reality is being kind of reworked and reimagined through the lens of a clearer connection to how we are coming into unity. What does that mean for the individual? It means that everything can feel a bit up in the air. There can be a lot of emotions attached to the energies right now, and a lot of interesting bouts of kind of frustration or anger or restlessness or lack of sleep or needing to sleep a lot, like not really knowing like what time of day it is. And then kind of these impressions of the past self coming in and judging and being in expectations in comparison to others, and then looking at this future projection and this future version of ourselves. And what I keep being shown, I'm going to say this again, is just this is an opportunity to clear the decks, to wipe the slate clean, and to come into as much stillness with the experience that we're having. Because when I see us coming into alignment with the eclipse on April 8th, and after that, it's an opportunity to come into totality with who we are, how we are being guided through that heart space, and what is available to us now we have spent this time to clear the deck. So this is a great opportunity for us. And I feel sometimes with these intense waves of energy and astrological dates and solar flares and big collective experiences that are happening, we can either be kind of stuck in the tornado of it, or we can ride the wave. And so when we ride the wave, it's like, oh, actually, this is quite joyful. I want to let go of all this stuff. I want to let go of all this density. Actually, I want to let go of any expectations I've been putting upon myself that has been causing me pain and suffering. And this is part of that, releasing the grip of the material, of the physical. And most of my clients I'm speaking to that I'm supporting right now, and most of my friends, when we're looking at this, it's like, it's not just one thing that seems to be not quite adding up, or it's kind of falling away or falling apart. There's a few things that start to happen. It's like a domino effect. And the calmness that we can find in the midst of the chaos helps us, but also allowing us to feel the emotions, feel the anger. Why do you feel it in your body? Feel the sadness, grieve the person that you thought you had to be based on your ego. Grieve the person you thought you had to be based on your programs and your constructs of the material. And who do you get to be beyond that? So it's like, it's this continuation of clearing the decks. And right now, the collective timeline that we're in, it's just a little bit more intensified than it normally is. We normally go through these cycles of this death and rebirth and clearing, but this is an acceleration of that.
Yeah, I love the way that you're articulating that. And for me, as we go into those spaces also, there's a relaxation into the new that is in places that have not been known before, because we're used to re-articulating the energies in places that are comfortable to us. that are familiar enough that we're okay taking that step, even though it feels uncomfortable. And to also be aware that they're in these energies because it is so new. And a lot of times in the healing space, in the personal transformation space, we think, oh, when we get here, we'll finally be in wholeness. And we're never going to be in, we'll be in as much wholeness as we can be at the moment. But until we really connect directly to source, which in this human life, just surrender to it, won't happen because we're human.
Mm.
It just won't. So there's, for me, I believe there's an adjustment to the nervous system also. It's like, once I get here, it's like, I'll be everything. When I'm everything, everything else will just fall into place. And I think there is a big awakening that's happening where we're looking for safety in places where safety doesn't exist. And we're really being invited to embrace and breathe into that creative aspect of ourselves that doesn't know what's being painted on the canvas next, but knows that something remarkable is possible.
Mm. Yeah,
How
I
do
love
you
that.
navigate that, Zoe?
Well, you know me very well, John. We've had a very long-standing friendship, and I feel sometimes I go through these very interesting experiences that most people would probably have a heart attack if they had been put in those positions. But I feel that it was to help me really understand surrender versus control.
Mm.
And to kind of giving away the power of control and sitting in the uncertainty and almost being vulnerable in the uncertainty, but being okay in the uncertainty and allowing that surrender piece to bring us back into presence. And so this is something I've been actively practicing, not just talking about, for the last 15 years. And it's those moments where we loosen the grip on the physical, on the reality, on what is known, on the identity, on the ego, of the expectations, that for me, spirit can really start to feel back in with who we are.
Mm.
And then what do we want to create from that newness? Anything beyond what we have controlled can open up and collapse time and make those quantum leaps that we all like. And broadly speaking, there is a mass collective impression of spirituality matched with material gains. And part of the deprogramming, when we talk about exiting the matrix, part of the deprogramming is also deprogramming the attachment to manifestation, and also deprogramming the attachment to abundance based on numbers in bank account, and deprogramming the attachment to what we thought we had to be based on a story that somebody told us of their impression of us 5 or 10 years ago. And when I'm working with clients one-on-one, I'm always deprogramming this story that they've been kind of riding based on things that are outdated, that aren't true to their soul's calling now. And, you know, we talk about presence, we talk about being in the moment, we talk about the power of now. I'm going to keep repeating this because it is being in presence, being in the power of now, and paying attention to what we feel intuitively. That is our guiding compass. That is what brings us into those moments of abundance, of expansion, of wealth, of opportunities, of conversations, of connections. And when we live through that internal compass system, when we really feel it, there is so much more that can open up for us beyond what we were controlling at a linear perspective. And I know most people will say, but what about the bills to pay? And what about rent? And what about my job? And. Yes, and I'm inviting us to think and feel a completely different way of being, right? And that's the work. And that is the challenge. And that is the joy of being on this path and being spiritually awakened. And that is the invitation that we have with this eclipse, is clearing the decks. And this was a tough one for me, John, a few days ago, because there have been some really big life purpose goals that I have written down probably for the last 5-10 years. And I kept writing them down and kept doing my manifestations. And I kept having hope and I kept having faith. And there was a part a few days ago where I had to actually really fully let this go, all of it. And it was scary because this is what's held me together as a physical person having this experience. Like, well, who am I without these desires or these goals or these expectations? I don't know. And then there was a day of grief and sadness and sorrow as I mourned the person I thought I had to be based on my goals and expectations of myself. Ooh. And then day 3, there was a spirit, an energy that started to come in that feels so much more connected to who I am and where I'm going. I don't need to know where I'm going. I have no idea. But there is an integration that's been happening through that. And I said this again, and I'll say it again. We're clearing the decks. We're clearing the decks. We're clearing the decks. And this is happening for us. It's beautiful. And it's also challenging at times when we're still trying to operate in some of these outdated constructs and programs and systems. We say we want to exit this dense matrix reality and we want to live in 5th dimensional consciousness. This is the bridge. And we're not in these periods of turbulence for very long, but if we flow with it, there is an integration that takes place. And suddenly there's an idea that comes in. Of course, we were meant to go to this place at this time and meet this person and have this conversation, and a business was formed. Of course, we were meant to sit in the cafe and sit on the left chair and not the right chair, and we meet the person that we've been having in our dreams for the last 10 years. And we are reawakening our remembrances of living multidimensionally and non-linear, where things can happen in much more of a fluid way, in an energetic way, as opposed to, okay, so let me get my vision board and let me get my manifestation and let me tick the boxes off of spirituality and do my morning practice, and then I'm a good, obedient person to spirit. No, it's like, throw the book away right now, throw it all away and get present.
Well, and I love that you're talking about this in the way that you are, because it's bringing up for me also, it's like, because we think that we're being good and following the process and doing the things, or we have an expectation that something is supposed to come in. It's like, where is it really a conditional exchange that we're in? And really the conditional exchanges like that are really part of the paradigm that can't be supported in the foundations of, if I give, I get. And there's a different version of unity consciousness that's available to us that is propelling us forward. And again, the foundation of that type of bartering of, well, I'll sacrifice a little bit of this if I can get a lot of that. And at the core of it, a lot of those negotiations that we do with manifestation tools and protocols, we're bartering with energies in the hope to be on the upside of the exchange. And I think we're really having to learn how to come into integrity with balance. And balance has to happen, not just in our relationship, obviously, with the divine and with each other and with nature and how we treat the environment. And it's a strict call for that. And there is just no avoiding that is what we're being called to, and how that we are all evolving together. So it's wonderful that you call this in. How is it that you work with clients? Because, your special offer, Zoe's special offer is a one-on-one session, and we're going to get through all that later. And if you're interested and you want to book, maybe you want to do it now. April's put the link in the chat box if you want to go book your session now before dates get booked. How is it that you help clients and the people that you work with not only deprogram? Because I understand when you talk about deprogram, I'm like, oh my God, that's work again and more. But what I hear you saying in the words that you use and what's available And not just surrendering, but for me, even in this eclipse season, it's like a reset. And we're resetting it. So for me, the deprogram is translating into reprogramming. And how is it that you're helping your clients to do that? And what's that looking like for them? And what are you seeing as far as results?
Yeah, good question. So when I work with somebody one-on-one, I'm reading their field multidimensionally. So they're talking and I'm hearing the frequency and the vibration of the words that they're using. I'm also tapping into their emotional field, their spiritual field, their physical field, their past self, their present self, parallel versions of themselves, and their future versions based on where they're at now in their level of consciousness. And when someone is sharing with me, I'm able to articulate back to them with like laser precision how that they can kind of unpack that for themselves to save years of processing and over analyzing and going over things over and over again. And so I kind of help people summarize, okay, this is the past, this is the present, this is the future, this is something else that's flashing over here. So remember Star Trek, and you had like, they would read that quantum computer and it was all like light colors and they do that with their fingers. So that's what I do when I'm reading someone is it's like this quantum computer of their blueprint will show up in front of me. And then, you know, if it's useful to them, if there are any loved ones that have crossed over that want to come into the session, not always, but sometimes when it's really needed for their soul's evolution in this moment, then they will come in, or their higher self will bring through messages, or any of their guides will come through. So I don't limit it to specific angels or anything. I open up the field, and then we get to have a conversation with all of the beings that are there to support someone. And the shifts that they get to make is allowing them to kind of unpack what has been keeping them in the looping cycles and patterns. And then quite often there'll be specific tools or teachings that will come through to help them navigate to move forwards so that they can clear the decks and then they can move forwards in the direction of what is most aligned to them. So specifically when I put the package together for the show, I normally work with clients for a minimum of 4 to 8 month periods in private mentorship. And so these sessions are specifically designed to give you the maximum amount of impact. And so letting go of how long it would be, there's so much information that comes through, and they're recorded as well, so that you can listen to them a few more times and digest, because sometimes the messagings that come through, it's not necessarily just for the human to comprehend, it's actually a frequency shift, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And I'm finding that in different sessions, that definitely what I've been experiencing giving as well, it seems like there's multi-dimensional aspects that are coming alive as well. And you mentioned it earlier, we're working on the wholeness of our being, and that's not necessarily always known, but there's a part of us that knows as well. So in the alignments that are happening, that there is going to be a physical attunement to what's available now in human form, but there's other things that are happening in the subtle fields that perhaps we're being a little more sensitive to and a little more aware, realizing that this vessel is something that's impacting so many other places in the interdimensional fields. It's been fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Are you finding that clients that you're working with are noticing aspects of that in different ways?
I'm finding right now the main thing that's been coming up most with my clients and in other conversations is how the physical body is needing a lot more attention to kind of get used to the amount of energy that we're holding. And so that's something that I dive into sometimes with my clients and in sessions as well, is like, how can we support these physical vessels to digest more light? Because the faster we can digest light, the higher we resonate in our frequency and the differences that happen in our physical reality. But quite often we'll have these out of body experiences that be really euphoric. We'll have these astral travels and, you know, it'll feel very amazing and blissful. And then we'll kind of come back into the density of the body and it doesn't feel so good. And so there's this integration piece that is really having our multidimensional experiences through the body, where the body is light enough to be able to sustain that amount of energy. And most are not used to feeling the energy. So my invitation to all of us as well is sometimes you might feel waves of energy moving through your body, and sometimes we're kind of, oh, I don't want to like lose myself in the energy. It's like, actually, like, lean into that, feel it, allow yourself to feel that energy as it runs through, because that's what's activating your multidimensionality, right? You may look back crazy to other people around you because you might be moving funnily, but get used to it, because that's part of that upgrade sequencing that's happening. It's like literally you are learning to vibrate into different dimensions. I had this recently. I was I don't know if I've shared this much, but I do a lot of work with the crystalline grid and working with the portals and stargates. And one of the main grid systems I've been working on is from Banff and Lake Louise in Canada, all the way down through the Americas. And the last point that I needed to go to was Antarctica. So I went there a couple of months ago to do land work. And the first piece of land that we visited after 2.5 days of travel on the Drake Passage was a volcano. And she taught me so much about the raw and rugged beauty of our physical vessels, and how there had been still these like little programs around beauty and what beauty is based on the feminine, based on, you know, what you see on magazines and Instagram filters and she would not let me go onto the volcano until I had cleared this program. And so there was 40 knots of wind that kind of blew up. So they're like, oh, we're so sorry, we can't bring the last boat. And so I sat at the top of the cruise ship and did my clearing and spoke to her, and I was like, okay, I understand. And then the wind dropped, and we were allowed to go on this last boat and connect with her. So everyone is in this tour. Okay, so they're having the conversations about the whales and the buildings that were left there, and the penguins. And I'm literally having to kind of stand a little bit over there because I'm feeling fully activated. And people were coming up to me like, oh, are you cold? And it's hard in situations like that where you are multidimensional and you're having these very activating experiences, but you're with a tour group. And so I just said, yes, I'm cold, but really I'm feeling this full like nervous system recalibration with raw beauty of nature. And it was just exquisite. And there were many other experiences like that, of really allowing myself to move beyond my fear of what I looked like and what people would perceive me as, when it comes to really connecting in. Because sometimes we don't always have a say so on when this is going to happen. And I feel also this eclipse window that we're in is inviting us to have more of these experiences, to open up. I have so many stories like this over the last 10 to 15 years. And when I was tuning in earlier, my guides was like, you need to share a little bit about Antarctica and some of these activations that you've been feeling, because I feel sometimes we shut that down. And my invitation to us is lean into it, because there is medicine for us in the leaning in of these experiences. They may look strange, but that's okay. We are meant to be strange.
Yes, agreed. And again, there's an organic unfoldment that's happening, and you can't judge which way the tree grows.
Yeah.
When it's sparkling up, and again, how we're growing spiritually and physically it's just as beautiful and just as reverent to witness. So to be in that unfoldment and the allowance that you were up there, and being in connection with the land in that way is extraordinary. Thank you for sharing that. I want to get into some Q&A also. If y'all want to ask personal questions, get a little mini reading from Zoe, raise your hand. We'll dive into that and type your questions into the chat box as well. And we'll go into that. But before we go into some of that, Zoe, I'm curious, what are some suggestions or recommendations that you have for everyone who's listening to the replay about what they can do to show up for this eclipse season? We can say navigate and to deal with, but for me, it's an opportunity to really expand into something. So I really want to be in the energy of how this is happening, like you said, for us, how this is an opportunity, how that this is occurring because we're ready.
Yeah.
So yeah, what would you suggest for everyone listening to, again, to expand the relationship of what's possible with this?
Okay. I'm just asking my guides to come in as well, because you wanted me to do some reading. So I'm just I'm just bringing them in as well. Yeah. So pre-eclipse, post-eclipse, make space for what's coming up and allowing the spaciousness in the emotions, in the tiredness, listening to your body, paying attention to the types of foods that you're feeding your body and how you feel afterwards. Because maybe the diet or the normal foods that you're used to eating aren't quite in flow through this energy influx. And so maybe you muscle testing different types of food. Like for me, there's certain foods I've been eating and I just feel really groggy and heavy afterwards. And so some of you may feel like you want to eat a ton of food, which is quite normal. It's our human response when there's too much happening outside us and through us. And so eating food kind of keeps us like, you know, heavy, keeps us in more density. So just asking, like, is this the highest alignment for me? Or would it be better to eat some lighter foods or maybe fast for a little bit? And some of you may be feeling certain intolerances that are specifically heightened as well. So the best thing with that is, you know, food is medicine, water is life, sun is activating and just amazing. So, you know, bringing it back to the basics of, did I eat good today? Did I drink enough water? Did I connect to nature? Did I connect to the sun? Did I remember to breathe? Not even feeling like you got to go do a big meditation practice. Like, did I remember to breathe consciously today? Am I being present? Am I being loving and kind to myself? Am I giving myself space to feel the feels? Am I judging myself feeling all the feels? Am I judging myself in anger? Am I judging myself with tears? Am I judging myself in my pain? Where can I show up in more loving kindness to myself during this period? And am I in the energy of victimhood or am I in the energy of empowerment? How do I get to show up in this moment to personally empower myself, to allow myself to ride the wave of these experiences and in the future? What is available to me now that I did not know before? And what do I get to do having this knowledge and taking care of myself in this way? So these are some of the questions and reminders that you can ask yourself every day, not just eclipse season, after eclipse season as well. It's the basics, but it works, right? If we can kind of clear the decks and pay attention to letting go of any future expectations, future attachments, and where are we being right now in our thoughts? Are we being in the future? Are we being in the past? If we're in the future and we're in the past, who's in our business? Who's taking care of us right now? No one. So let's get here. Let's get present. Let's get grounded. Let's take a breath. Let's allow our nervous systems to reset and recalibrate itself so that we can navigate through presence, through unity, through connection, right?
Thank you for that, Zoe.
It sounds so simple, but it honestly, it works. It's every day. I'm doing this multiple 50, 100 times a day. Oh, anger's coming up. Okay.
When you say it works, I want you to clarify how it works. It works to do what?
Feel more present, feel more grounded. I feel that my ego does not need to know about the moment after this one. It doesn't need to know about tomorrow. It doesn't need to know about next week. It doesn't need to know about next month. It doesn't need to know about next year. It certainly doesn't need to know about next decade or the decades after that. It gets to be fully here. And in the fully here, there is a deeper attunement to my clairaudience skills and my connection to my higher self. And it's more in peace. There's more peace that I feel through navigating this experience. So even though there's emotions that come up, I feel peace with feeling the emotions. I feel peace with feeling anger. It's okay. It's density clearing. I'm thanking myself for feeling these feels. We've been so programmed and conditioned to believe there is something wrong with us if we feel emotion. It's just, it's all part of this transcending of the attachments, of the illusions, of the control, of the material. We're clearing the decks, which also we get to clear the decks of some of these unprocessed thoughts, emotions, and feelings.
Well, or you're also talking about it. I think it's important to also realize that in the present, in the now, we don't need to know about the present or the future or the next week or the next decade. What's important also is to go horizontal with it, because we don't need to know what our neighbor's doing. We don't need to know what our daughter's feeling. We don't need to know what our partner is thinking about. We don't need to know what our boss is going to do in the next minute, because that takes us out. It could seem like a future progression, but again, with so much empathy that is, or empathic capacity that's rising in the field, it's easy to get lost in the attunements of another and lose ourselves in the process, even though we think we're being in the present moment. And it's, again, so important to land in the stabilization in the center of ourselves and allow that to inform. And I believe all that is a function, the totality of the vertical and the horizontal, and finding that nexus point is what's bringing in the balance to all of it. It's adjusting and calibrating our nervous system where we can stay within ourselves. And those practices, again, we say they're simple, but because they're so simple, we don't give them enough credence. It's like in our industry, oh my gosh, I have so many of the speakers on the shows who've gifted sessions and retreats and other things. I'm like, stop gifting it, because I find that most of the time, not all of the time, but most of the time, if a balance exchange isn't taking place, that the work isn't really taken, or the wisdom isn't really received in the totality of what it really can be. It's not worked with, it's not as invested in. And it becomes a game of trying to get something for the sake of something else, instead of being in balanced and right relationship and expanding what's possible when we meet each other from that space and really choose to expand together. So it's a quite interesting place to be. But y'all, if y'all do anything, come back and listen to the replay and listen to the simplicity that Zoe was sharing. Even though I am going to ask Zoe to get into transmission for the group later. I just put you on the spot, by the way. Excuse me.
That's fine.
We'll get into transmission. But it's really, really important. So it's, I'm hoping that y'all come back. There's a lot that was shared. Again, come back, listen, maybe write down the notes, bullet point it out, and take action. Take action. I think you might be really surprised at the shifts in the most positive way that happen as you're propelled into something new. Zoe, let's open up to Q&A. There's so much that people are writing in.
Sure. I'm also going to just quickly add to that as well, that I do speak quite fast, and it's on purpose. And the speed when I'm talking about specific topics and answers to questions is not just necessarily for the human mind. It's sometimes to kind of work through the human mind and for us to feel it at a cellular level. And so yes, absolutely listen to the replay of this and take some notes and write something. If you think, oh, she said that too fast, and what was that thing again, and what was the affirmation? Listen to the replay, and then you can really absorb it. And if you're listening to the replay of this already, hello in the future, then great, you can pause this and rewind it. But the speed of which sometimes is to cut through the mind at a cellular level. So it's almost like a frequency activation, because you all think you're speaking just to Zoe. Like, I have the whole team here as well. It's just my voice, right? And so obviously there's experiences that I've had, but we're all here to support you. So yeah, just wanted to share that. But yeah, I'm ready to answer some questions.
All right, let's go. Let's go to Carter. iPhone Lusa Carter. Welcome to the call.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm really enjoying this call. I appreciate you all very much. My inquiry is about what would it be useful for me to know right now? I'm definitely in the middle of a position. Just some words of encouragement or guidance would really just be helpful today.
Okay. And so what kind of guidance are you looking for to feel at ease in this moment?
I actually would really love to know. I had a passion for, I'd lost the passion that I once had for service in the ways that I used to more formally do it. And I'm like, what expression am I called to now? I feel like I'm just in that in between, in the void space, which is lovely, right? But some direction, a glimmer of something. Which really.
And how do you feel in the void right now? What comes up for you sitting in this unknownness, this unknown space?
It feels like I don't have direction.
And what does it feel like to have no direction?
It feels like it's been an exaggerated time of no direction, and therefore it feels like a bit of a slump.
And where do you feel your energy was at when you said exaggerated time of? Was that dipping into the past based on a linear time frame? When you feel into where you are, yeah, okay. And then
yes, it is.
Where do you feel yourself when you're wanting to kind of know what this next step is? Do you feel that you're kind of trying to grasp to a future self, a future version?
I feel like I sincerely want to, my intention is really to listen and to follow the guidance. And I don't feel any. What I have just been feeling is this lack of motivation, lack of inspiration type. The lack, that's a very big thing, isn't it? Just really feeling into that and recognizing, as you said, the pattern of the past. Here we go again, right? And there's just, like, when's the breakthrough? Is there a breakthrough? Or do I just, this will be the rest of this incarnation, that I may have this pattern that continues? But the fulfillment and satisfaction above all is to serve my I am and to free her to fully express herself in this life as she intends to.
Okay. So let's clap space and time, and there's a lot to unpack here, and I'd love for you to take advantage of the offer so that we can go into this a bit more deeply. But I'm just going to summarize where you're at right now. The thing is not quite landing for you because there's still a sense of expectation based on the linear timeline of how long your mind is telling you that you've been waiting around for the next thing. And then there's something that's stopping you from really connecting and dropping in now, because the mind is still kind of operating. Yeah, but what's over there? And when am I going to know the thing so that I can fully be here? Right. And so collapsing space-time just bring you into you. And you kind of spoke about yourself as in the third person. I want her to embrace. I want this. So it's like you're speaking about yourself outside of yourself. So where are you when you're even speaking about yourself outside of yourself? You're speaking in your current reality from your past self, and you're speaking about your current reality based on this unimagined future vision. So that's why it's kind of like clunking up the hose pipe with creative expression, right? And so bring you into you. Bring all of you into you, right? And you can do this by, I'm calling all of my energy back, all of me into the power of now, into the space, into my body, into my heart, into this reality, into this consciousness. And bring all of myself to feel the full divine expression of the I am presence. I'm commanding myself as the I am, and I feel the I am as I am in this moment. I am, and, right? And so just allowing yourself to feel some of these commandments to bring you into you, because you're very creative. Your creativity stopped in the past because you got the mind and the ego involved and you made it a thing. And then you put the expectations on it. And then you try to kind of squash the thing into a box and then put a bow on it and follow this linear path based on what others were doing. Right? Am I right?
I have been reflecting on that recently. Absolutely.
Yes.
It's like a part of me said, well, this is how it's going to be. Well,
yes. And so in this moment, you get to clear the decks. You get to completely reset. And you get this opportunity every single moment that you're conscious of your breath, of this moment. I get to clear again. I get to clear again. I get to be fully here. It's quite scary to be here because where have we been most of our lives? If we're not here, where are we? We're in our minds. We're in the past. We're in the future. We're in somebody else's business. We're doing something else.
It's cute, but
right? And so your creative expression will start to flow through you easily and gracefully and lovingly and knowingly and connectedly when you start to really bring all of you back into you. And so this is your homework, this eclipse. Okay, this is your homework to do. Bring all of you back. How does it feel to be fully here? I'm noticing some tension in my body. I'm noticing a little kind of tightness in my stomach. Oh, it feels uncomfortable to be in my stomach. Where have I not been loving my stomach? Bring all of you in, because this is your creative expression. Okay, make sense?
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's wonderful to have you on. Thank you. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, let's continue. We're going to take another caller. We're going to get into a special offer again also. I know Zoe explained it, but I want you all to open up the special offer page. April's going to type it into the chat box. And while y'all are opening that, I have an interesting proposition, Zoe. It's for all of us because we talk about 3D and 5D and all the different Ds. And the truth is, I mean, most everybody doesn't know what those other dimensions are really going to be like, but we have an expectation of what it's supposed to be. And this dream and this, oh my God, if I finally get there, then what? And we're so busy living in what we don't know that we stop creating in what we do know.
Shasta.
And what would happen if we just gave up? Let go.
Yeah, this is what
The
I've been saying all
expectation of what
along.
it's supposed to be. What's it supposed to
Exactly.
be? What if we just let it go?
Clear the decks.
Clear the decks.
Clear the decks of thought.
What would that mean for y'all? Would that mean that you lose hope of something else is possible? Or could it mean that you actually get to focus on something that you do know rather than chasing something?
Oof, or we actually have to be here. Oof, that's a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's someone used this analogy with me the other day. It's like those beings that started building the Great Wall of China never saw it to its completion. But they knew that they were building something tremendous. They knew that they were an integral part of what was being formed. Did they know that they'd be able to see this structure from space? No. No idea. But look at what's been left behind and look at their sense of purpose and the accomplishment, the legacy. But again, the sense of purpose of participating in something like that, perhaps for many, definitely the ones that architected it and said, yes, let's do this. And I think we get to be those people and say, hey, we're building a great wall, a great inspiration of consciousness. We're leaving a legacy. We know what we're imprinting. And I get to take pride in this step by step by step.
Sorry. Okay, come on.
It's amazing what's possible. Let me see
How
if I
do
can.
That's so cool. I love getting chosen on those shows. Oh,
Let's
yeah.
see.
I was actually interacting with.
Boom. We had that interaction.
A whole side conversation going on. I
Exactly.
love it.
So as we go, I'm guided to go into another live caller, then we'll go into the special offer, y'all. But again, the special offer is Zoe. It's special to have this one-on-one time with her. But before we go there, let's go to Dorothy. Dorothy, let's get you to unmute, and if you could ask Zoe your question, that'd be wonderful. Did you find your unmute button, Dorothy?
There we go.
Hi.
Hello, John. I've been listening to you for years, and you too, Zoe. So I've never actually come on a call before, but I just thought, oh, let's do it. So I'm turning a big age this year. I'm turning 70. And when I was at 38, I had a huge, huge shift. I left my country, left a marriage, left my career, followed my purpose work down to Cayman Islands, that's where I am now. And I do live a very simple life. I'm not a corporate girl anymore. I did that. So all of that happened, and now I'm feeling another big shift coming. No idea what it is, but I'm excited because I have a glimmer of getting my sparkle back. And even at this age, I feel like I'm just beginning in a way. So with that in mind, have you got, can you give me any guidance, any insight, any wisdom?
Okay. When is your birthday?
July 1st.
Oh. And when you say you feel like you're going to get your sparkle back, so you don't feel like you have your sparkle now?
I'm already feeling it. I'm feeling that hopefulness. I feel, honestly, to be really honest, I feel like I've been in exile for much of my life, in a type of exile. And without going into my background and my childhood, it makes perfect sense. And it's like you don't know any different, and now I'm getting those glimmers of, wow, actually, there is a whole other dimension out there that that I'm born to find, I'm born to be that.
Okay, thank you for sharing. So your guides are coming in and they are saying, start celebrating yourself daily as if you already have the sparkle. And metaphorically, and also they are asking you to kind of decorate and adorn yourself with some sparkles. So whether you get like a sparkly jacket or you get some sparkle things in your home, just anything to symbolically represent they're calling it like a sparkle shift that you're in right now. It's almost like having, like, how would it feel like to walk every day in your present moment as if you already have this activated within you, that you already have the sparkle, that you don't need to wait till July or for this future version to start allowing yourself to receive that about yourself now, because your guides are saying that it's about time.
Yes.
It's about time. It's about time that you let yourself feel that for yourself. And so this isn't just one day for you, like celebrate something about yourself every single day, whether it's a walk to the beach and you're connecting to the sparkles, you know, how the sun glistens on the ocean and it creates all these like crystalline, beautiful sparkle rays, or if you're in a swimming pool and the sun's hitting, or the sand, the way the light hits on the sand. Start really allowing yourself to feel all the sparkles in your life, because it's actually, the sparkles are actually representing your ability to step into crystalline consciousness, into crystalline connection through that open heart portal. And so starting to celebrate yourself every day for, as you had put it, quote unquote, your big birthday, right? Have this as a expansive birthday. Have this as an expansive year. Have this as an expansive month, an expansive week, an expansive day, an expansive moment to celebrate yourself and the sparkles and joy that you are. And so they're just kind of, I see them, they keep showing me you wearing this like really cool, snazzy, sparkly jacket and just being like, yes, this is me. This is me. This is how I get to show up in this moment, in these sparkles. So yeah, I love that for you.
I can do that.
Good. Amazing.
And do it. Dorothy, blessings to you. Happy early birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you
7
very
amazing
much.
decades of your human beingness on this earth of us.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's continue. All right, we're gonna get into more Q&A, y'all. Did y'all open up the special offer link in the chat box? If you haven't, I invite you to do it now and follow along. Zoe, what are people gonna get by signing up with you?
Yes, I'll bring the thing up. Well, I know it off by heart, actually. So you get a 30-minute session with me, and we will go into what I was sharing before. So we're going to open up the space energetically, connecting to your guides, connecting to your angels, your higher self, and we will connect into the crystalline core of Gaia and the specific prayer that I use to create a very sacred and expansive space so that we can bend and expand time so that all the information comes through in this linear time that we have. And it either goes one of two ways. Either your guides will start channeling through right away, because sometimes they actually need to give you some of the messages and the upgrades first, or I will have you share a couple of things to start opening up the line of energy. But there's always room for questions at the end as well. And these are really great sessions if you are needing to figure this out right now. If you need some support, you need someone that has, you know, really at this point, like over 15 years of experience and mastery of connecting you and reminding you through that multidimensional energy. And the additions to this as well is you have access to my quantum tools and meditation library. So there's over 8 hours of recorded content, and I'm slowly starting to add some extra transmissions in there for you as well. So that's yours forever. You have lifetime access, and sometimes I'll add some extra meditations in there. The quantum tools in particular are amazing. They're short 5 to 10 to 20 minute kind of energetic tune-ups, where there's one of them, for example, connecting to your past, present, and future self. I actually had my client today listen to this after our session to help her get really clear with like, where's she at right now? What's her past self got to share with her? What's her present self got to share with her? What's her future self got to share with her? Just to bring more grounding and some peace and harmony. So they're really fun practices to help navigate the experience of being in a human form and being conscious to being human and being connected to the divine. So these meditations are great for that. And I designed them so that they weren't going to take hours and hours and hours of your time. Some of them are only 5 minutes, and it's just like, great, now I've done my breath work, I feel connected, I can carry on with my day. And there are a couple of longer transmissions in there as well. There's the Path of the Feminine and a couple of others as well. But the felt really guided when I was tuning in. As John knows, I've been, on this show for nearly about 7 years now. Actually, gosh, it's gone so fast. And I always tune in, like, what is the best way that I can serve this community? And sometimes I do live programs or masterclasses, but this came through really strongly, was to offer up my time in a more one-on-one capacity. I don't offer one-on-one sessions outside of this offer. I don't offer single sessions. As I said before, I normally work with clients in a different capacity. So this is a great opportunity to get my time with you and for us to dive into some of these pieces that you want to talk to someone about from a neutral space that's going to help you unpack and move forwards. So yeah, I'm excited to meet some of you, connect with some of you that are guided for this journey. So yeah.
Amazing. Y'all, the offer is $197 with a 2-payment option. And again, it's to work one off with Zoe this way isn't something that's typically offered. How much are your containers if someone were to work with you on a 4-month basis, on a quarterly basis?
Yeah, normally pricing starts at 10K.
Okay. Well, there you go, y'all.
So this is a great offer.
Big opportunity.
Mhm.
All right, y'all. Take advantage of it. Dive in. Yeah, that's what you get for being a member of Beyond the Ordinary community. Great community and amazing offers.
Exactly. And I just love you all. I love this community. I love John. This one of my favorite shows to be on. I always prioritize being on here over any other show.
The original
It was. Yeah, it was.
Introduce Zoe to everybody in amazing ways and what a gift. All right, let's continue, y'all. Let's get into some more live readings. I also want to talk a little bit more about the eclipse in a little bit. There's a transmission that I'm feeling pretty strongly building up. But before we get into all of that, y'all, let's start now with Nan. Nan, welcome to the call. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. I took my hat off. Hi, John. Hi, Zoe.
Hi.
Wow. Mini reading. I have been stuck. I'm working with all kinds of healers. Your offer sounds so attractive. And the way I'm a writer and editor, and the way you articulated what to do, it was delicious and so digestible. That's not the word I wanted, but it was so delicious. So I'm now at a crossroads, it seems. I'm getting rid of the ET influence, and I'm not sure if anything appears to you, if my guides have anything to say, or if you want me to say more as a pointer.
Yeah, what's a specific kind of question that you would love guidance on right now? Just generally, like what's coming through, or what do I see?
All right. What is my next step as far as my getting my business going? Because I think I should be a healer. I've been told this, but I'm stuck with all sorts of things. Everybody's a healer, but
that's why I'm laughing.
Right.
Yes, we are all healers.
Yes.
And I've
actually done it. So
I love it. I'm not laughing at you, Nan. I'm laughing in general. If I had $1 for every time someone told me that someone had told them that they're meant to be a healer, and this I feel like we've just like all been told this like same story. So I laugh because I love it. I adore it.
I was pre-med. I was pre-med, and I was an atheist. I'm not an atheist, and I didn't go to med school. And being a healer is darn better than being an MD.
Yeah.
Right? Oh my God.
So your question was around, what do I need to know in my business and to get it started? Okay. Okay, so bear with me here. What's most jumping out at me right now is your physical body. And the reason for that is there is attention that's needed on your physical body that's going to open up this next step, this next knowing, this next known version, this next known reality, as you put it, quote unquote, getting your business started. It starts with your body. And there are certain things with your body that is kind of flashing at me quite strongly. And I was being guided to ask, like, if you've ever done any type of cleanse or heavy metal detox or anything like that.
I'm doing the rapid liver reset. Right now, except I'm kind of not doing it completely. That's Sinclair Canelli's work. She's a genius.
And so when you say I'm not doing it completely,
I can't afford all of I'm so spaced out for various reasons that I'm not on it the way I should be. Taking supplements. I have boxes of supplements here.
Yeah.
And I'm now still doing the rapid energy reset, which is the previous one that just
Okay.
flowed right into the rapid. So
Okay.
I know I
So
can get clean.
yeah, that's fine. So your guides, what I'm hearing coming through for you from your guides is don't shoot the messenger. She's made it too complicated, and it's created you in this kind of like this energy of overwhelm.
Yes.
And then thank you. And then from that overwhelm, it's like not really kind of going in any direction with it. So that for now, step one, not to say that you won't do these supplements or finish this liver flash or anything, but what I'm hearing them say is just have a very, very simple food groups with less fussiness. And they said that you will know what that means. So simple food groups of less fussiness. So less heavy on anything with, I'm seeing kind of condiments, vinegars, anything with table salt. Real bad. Like,
really?
No for you right now. Any condiments, any extra sauces and mayonnaises and anything with
I don't do
seeds
that.
and anything with seed oils.
I don't do seed oils.
Okay, great. So just a real basic, simple, clean kind of like food groups, clean, simple foods for a couple of weeks, just to get some energy flowing in your body without having too much kind of, density, basically. So, they said, you're not going to like this, but it's like, cutting out the croissants and the bread and the cheeses.
I don't do bread.
Okay, that's great.
Dairy. I cut sugar.
Okay, that's great.
I am doing a lot of dairy now because a healer said I should be doing kefir, and I'm just guzzling it. So I think that's probably not right.
Yeah, kefir is okay, but just really like muscle testing before you're eating or before you're buying your foods and stuff. Just to kind of
I've been muscle testing since the early 2000s. I know how to do it well, and I'm not doing it. So,
no, well, that's why they're saying to me to say to you, like, don't shoot the messenger, but like, your guides,
never.
your guides are here with you to help you through this. And so they're like saying she wants to know how to take action steps in her business. It starts with the gut. It's quite funny. They're like, because the gut is kind of the intuition. And so it's like working with that gut health, that gut is helping with that intuition. And they're just also saying as well, I'm hearing the word softness, being a bit more softer with your thoughts of self, because there's too much. They're saying that they hear you with too much kind of internal negative self chatter, and it's not loving and kind. So reestablishing a relationship with you, with your heart, and just practicing loving kindness towards yourself. They're saying that will also help to open up that intuition and helping you with those steps forward. So they're saying almost like, don't worry, I'm trying to give them say something different, but they're saying ditch the supplements for now, focus on this, focus on this internal alignment, practice more loving kindness with yourself for at least the next 2 weeks, and then start from there. But they're saying yes, muscle testing, please. You laugh. Your guys are very funny.
Well, good, because when I'm clear, I can do triple entendres. I'm brilliant, but I'm not brilliant right now. I haven't been for a while. So I'm glad that they're funny, because I got to talk to them.
Yeah,
I got to learn to talk to them.
It was wonderful to see you, Nan.
Thank you.
Yeah, lovely to see you.
Blessings to you.
That's so funny.
All right, let's
People's guides are so funny. I'm like, don't make me say that.
You got to say, if it comes through, you got to be in integrity, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Got to be with it. All right, let's continue. Kim Q, welcome to the call.
Hi there.
Hello.
Thanks for choosing me. And Zoe, I would love to kind of tune in, everything you were talking about riding the waves. I have been feeling all the feels and having all the emotions and journaling and being present. But the financial instability is real, and there's a lot of I don't know, I have waves of feeling very hopeless, with the state of the world and just my own place in it right now. So I am curious what, my guides or what you have to share.
I'm actually going to go to the last thing that you said around own place in the world right now. Well, this world is collapsing. This reality, this co-created shared timeline that we're on is completely shifting. And so this is also part of what I was sharing before around clearing the decks. Is part of the uncomfortableness that the ego has is clearing the decks with the material sense of self, which is also the material institutions of banking systems, of money, of homes, of cars, of and the rest of it. And so part of this kind of invitation, right? Because it's always an invitation for us to be here, but we all kind of opted in for some crazy reason, because we know when we go through these shifts, there is more joy, there is more sparkles in our lives. And that's why we're a glutton for punishment and we keep doing it, but from an empowered, conscious state of self-awareness and not from the victim, right? Not from the small I am, but from the I am, from the beingness of who we are. And so it's easy to not have a place in the world right now because we are in a shifting of timelines and realities of creating a new world, a new version that is based on love, that is based on joy, that is based on community, that is based on unity consciousness, that is based on co-creation, that we are all holding this image. And how do we get to embody that now in this moment is that internal connection. And I've said this a few times on different interviews, and I've written about this, and I sometimes feel like I'm repeating myself, but it's so potent. Internal alignment for external manifestation. So if there's something in the external that's close to us, so for you, the pain point here is, as you said, quote unquote, financial instability. What is the internal alignment? This is very important how I'm sharing this. That gets to take place for me to expand into more receptivity. And what does that feel like as a feeling in my body? How does it feel in this moment to know that I am fully taken care of? I am more than supported. I am more than abundant, irrespective of the noughts and zeros that the banks are showing. How do you get to show up in that empowered space now? And that is part of that internal alignment for external manifestation. And it may start off small, right? And so the blessing of every single dollar, of everything that we already have. But sometimes and this isn't for everyone, and this isn't always the case, but sometimes when there's this really deep core wound around finances, it is getting us to really look internal. Because sometimes in our awakening journey, remember we came here on this planet for the evolution of our soul. This is one of the most interesting, dynamic experiences that we chose to incarnate at this time. And so remembering we came here for the evolution of our soul. If we are fat and drunk and happy and distracted, would we really be doing that inner work? And so sometimes these external pain points come up for us to really get to the root cause of that instability. So is it financial instability based on external view of based on what the banks are saying, or is there something coming up inside? What's the deeper root meaning to that? So this is some of the inquiry, thank you, that you can sit with over these next few days, but just be in the inquiry of it. Go into observer. Oh, I'm noticing myself my mind is attaching thought to external material reality right now, how does that make me feel in this moment? It makes me feel scared. It makes me feel uncertain. It makes me feel restless. It makes me feel angry, annoyed. Where do I feel that in my body? Where do I feel the anger? Where do I feel the frustration? Right. So this is some of the inquiry that we can use these eclipse energies to really go into the root of it. Because, okay, your guides are showing me this analogy for you, and I think that this will kind of like put the icing on the cake of this explanation. If you think about a garden, and you've let the garden like overgrow over years, and you suddenly remember, oh yeah, I have a garden, and yeah, there's probably a few things that are still thriving. There's like a nice oak tree in the corner. I actually have this abundance meditation garden in my quantum tools library, so I'll just give you the synopsis of it. But imagine that you go in and this garden is really overgrown. You don't try to plant like new seeds where it's all overgrown. There's all these weeds, and maybe there's some like furniture that got dumped off there, like there's always, for some reason, I don't know how these things get there, but like a mattress or a couch that suddenly has ivy growing out of it, or moss or whatever, right? What do you do first to make that garden more abundant, more beautiful, more divine? You clear it. You dig up the weeds, you pull the weeds out. And what happens if you don't pull the weeds out at the root? It grows back. And so this is part of this clearing the decks that we're in. And for you, this pain, I feel it really strongly. And this is some of this like real, like uncomfortable, deeper inner inquiry that you're being invited into. So my guides were like sharing when I was and when I was tapping into your energy field, like imagining that this is like you're in this garden right now, and you're just looking around and like, what do you want to keep? Do you want to keep the weeds that represent, as you put it, financial instability? Or do you want to dig those suckers up and create and put some fresh soil down, some nice topsoil, and create some newness? Right? So we got to kind of clear the decks first. So this is kind of the period that you're in. Okay, final message for you. Your financial abundance isn't necessarily always going to come in where you expected it to. It will come in different ways when you loosen the grip of control of how you think it should come in. So I see this like golden thread of light coming in through the side here. And what does that mean symbolically? Sometimes there is ways that we can be supported in kind of without necessarily, okay, we need to, this is the job that we have and this is the money that we have. There's other ways that we stop ourselves from receiving abundance. And they also are reminding you that abundance isn't necessarily always money. It's many other things. So expanding the perspective, widening it right out, looking at your life as an abundant garden and what needs to be dug up and cleared, right? So that it's like freeing up the mind, because right now it's so linear and it's focused on this one tiny little trickling hose pipe of receptivity, and you want to have the whole Niagara Falls, right? And so zooming out of your reality, and ladies and gentlemen, like everyone, it sounds very proper, doesn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, but all of you listening to this is for all of us. Honestly, like every single message that is being received one-on-one, it's for all of us, these reminders. And I'm going to listen back through this and take some notes. I'm like, oh yes, need to remember that one, need to remember that one. So does this make sense, Kim?
Yeah, I feel like everything, the piece that I've been missing is that feeling in the body where it is, and then looking deeper in there, because all the other pieces I've been doing, but that, where specifically is that root, and let's get all of those roots,
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I've been mad purging for an entire week,
Love it. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now I'm ready to go in the body and see what's in there to excavate.
Oh, blessings to you, Kim.
Thank you so
Mm.
much.
Blessings, Kim. Thank you so much. And something you said, Kim, massive purging and purging. We can get to the point where we're not surprised that we're purging sometimes. It's like, oh, here we go. It's like, okay, let me get into my practices. Let me connect to the earth. Let me get good at let me listen to what my body needs. I know this. I've been through this before. It's not my first rodeo with an essentiary transition that we're going through. And it can throw us off, but we can also remember it's like, hey, we've done this. I've made it through the last ones. I made it through this one. I bet you've made it through financial challenges in the past, right? It's like, and here you are. It's like, you're good. And at what point do we start trusting our personal history, not humanity's history? We're looking for something outside of us to trust or not trust, right? Oh, history's dictated this, and they're trying to control this, and they're trying to do this, or they've done that. But wait, what have you personally navigated? How have you risen up? How have you gotten to know yourself? What beautiful resolution and power has come through you that you go, oh, I know who I am in this. And breathe into that and find your center. And then know that there's others like you that are finding their center that you can lean into, like Zoe, like coming on these calls. And from that center place meeting together, we get to expand each other exponentially because we're walking in truth, not in reaction to an illusion that's really programmed to have us in the nervous system reaction. It's we're coming back home. Come back home. And remember, and we're coming back home with the people who are coming back home to themselves. I remember, I know, I trust, and so I take action. How wonderful. How wonderful for your bravery. How wonderful for your innocence and vulnerability. And how wonderful that here you are still expanding and growing and sharing that for all of us so that we may grow as well. So thank you. Yeah, beautiful. Zoe, let's take one more live caller before we get into transmission. All right, fantastic. Oh, this is interesting. Zoom caller or user, would it be best to do a ritual of what we want to clear as this eclipse begins and what we want to bring in on the passing of totality to full sun? So is there a ritual that you recommend or anything that perhaps might be appropriate to facilitate being with these energies?
I mean, I can share what I'm kind of doing personally, and I feel everyone will have a different interpretation of this. And so always follow your own guidance. Like where I'm at right now is sitting in complete nothingness and being comfortable in the complete nothingness. And every time my mind wants to then go ahead into the future, bringing it back into nothingness. So that's just my personal journey that feels really good for me. It feels so freeing. And what I'm personally planning to do when I go, I'm actually traveling to Mattersland, which is one of the most optimum viewing points of the solar eclipse. And I have no idea what's going to happen. I never pre-plan these things. I'm just going to feel in the moment if there is an inspiration or an intuitive hit or download of like, oh, I'm going to think about this thing or feel into this thing when I'm having this experience, then amazing. And or I might just sit in the totality of that moment and just really feel the energy through my body. And so, yes, if it feels nurturing to have a little practice or create a little sacred space or a ceremony of some of the things that you're already ready to release and to let go of. And if there's a few things that feel really inspiring to you and you feel it feels abundant, it feels exciting, then great, add that to the list of the ritual that you get to do. But if for any reason that you start thinking about things and there's this kind of pit of doom in the stomach or this sense of, oh my God, but how am I going to do that? And clear the decks, come back to totality with the divine, feel yourself connected to the moment. And so this is a kind of moment by moment experience, and feel into, if it feels inspiring in that moment and you feel really expansive, that's the time to get manifesting and asking for this connection or this desire that you have. If you're feeling in contraction and you're feeling disconnected, then that is not the time to be manifesting, right? And so feeling into it. But yes, if it feels that you're in a moment, it feels peaceful, your nervous system feels grounded, you can hear the angelic sound of chimes in your ears, and you feel this like beautiful connection, then great. That's a perfect time to act, to get feeling into what you want to create. And if you're not, then sit in the stillness, sit in the nothingness.
Yeah, y'all, the one-on-one special offer with Zoe. Again, she doesn't offer one-on-one sessions one-off like this. The link is in the chat box. Click on that. If you're listening on the replay, the link is in the chat box and also below the video where you're watching the replay. It's already a whole bunch of people that are signing up, so I'm excited for y'all, and hope that the rest of y'all have the opportunity to tune in, see if it's right with you, and see what wants to guide you as you have session. All right, Zoe, how about we get into the transmission we know nothing about quite just yet?
Yeah, me neither.
That's why I said that.
Okay. Okay, well, let's see what wants to come through then. So just gently closing your eyes and taking some cleansing breaths. I've lost my power of speech. I feel sometimes when these higher energies coming through, my language system starts to fall apart and light language wants to come through. So let's at least try to do the beginning of this transmission. So closing your eyes, taking some cleansing breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. And if your mind starts to wander, just bringing it back to your breath. And calling all of yourself into this moment. All of your energy. And through your breath, feeling that connection to your physical body. And on those inhalations, just letting everything else go down through the soles of your feet and into the earth. And from your root, sending a cord of light all the way down into the crystalline core of Gaia, grounding and anchoring you into this moment, this space. Remembering your breath. And softening your face, letting go of the muscles in your face, softening your shoulders. Imagining your heart opening. Imagining your aura expanding all the way around you. So we call the highest available frequencies of light into this moment, into this field, through our bodies. And all energy that is not here for the highest good to go home and evolve now. Show me. Calling in a reconnection to our higher selves, our angels, guides, all beings of light that are here for the highest good. And just using your breath to bring you even deeper into this moment. As you breathe in, imagining that you're breathing in this beautiful life force energy into every single cell of your being. And as you breathe out, just releasing, feeling that connection to the earth, feeling that connection to your body, feeling that connection to your higher self. And I'm just going to bring through a transmission of light and a message from Collective Council of Light. Ke tare ko shia tare no turia motukia motuia ti si andara ke atotu hia mataya I sofia tare no tu shia tare maka I tare I atotu si andara chutia tare matuka matia nana I satare no sufuia tare mataka I asosuiana I shotiana tu shiandaka oya turia mosuia I sofia tare masu sayaba. And the message that I'm hearing, I'm going to bring this through as well. So many of you have been feeling the turbulent waters of these eclipse energies, and they can indeed feel rather intense for the nervous system and the physical vessels. And it goes without saying, as we are bringing this message of reminding us today for this moment of utilizing the tools and skill sets that you have with your breath, with your connection to drinking good quality waters, through connecting to the sun, through connecting to nature, and allowing your bare foot and feet to connect to the earth at times to release some of the intensities that you are feeling. This is much like a rebirthing portal, and a massive cycle is completing on your planet at this time. And so it is quite common that many have been feeling old woundings and patterns and programs and distortions based on past timelines and parts of the ego that were operating in the fear-based agenda. And so we are reminding that as this is much like a birthing tunnel, to allow oneself to flow with the experiences that are happening and to take the time to be present with what's coming up. We know that this has already been covered in much detail during this transmission that you've had listened to on this show, but we just wanted to reinforce this. And much like the sky turns to night, there is always a knowing that the night turns to day. And so even though it may feel as if there is a night experience happening, remembering that there are new horizons to be had, that the sun will shine again, and that there will be more peace on the nervous system going through this experience. And so they're just also saying to just remember how powerful you all are, that your words, and the way you activate your throat chakra and work with your words, working with your invocations, is helping sustain yourself in a frequency of support, almost being held in these healing chambers, as it were. Yeah, taking a deep breath in and deep breath out. So good, so. And then just gently opening your eyes, greeting the room that you're in, looking around, feeling the light. I could do this for like 5 hours, so I was just ask them like quick tune up energy transmission. Thank you. I will just bring in this last thing because they're kind of bugging me now. I don't know if any of you have ever worked with the Arcturian chambers of light, or the Palladian chambers of light, but they're really cool. And this is something that you can ask to experience when you go to bed, and just ask either your Arcturians or Palladians or both of them to be put in the healing chambers of light, and whatever light encodements you need to help calm your nervous system. So they're actually offering this based on what was coming through. And you can also do this in meditation as well, connecting in and asking to be put in the healing chambers of light. And it's really cool. And I worked with these for over 15 years and they've been amazing. So I just wanted to share that as well. And they're saying, don't overthink it. Just ask to be put in the healing chamber of light and allow what comes through for you and your individual experience. Okay, I hope.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you so much for that. How are y'all feeling? Yes, it is wonderful. Kim says, thank you so much appreciation. I'm just pausing here with y'all, taking a breath in and allowing that to seep in more deeply. If you can feel the peacefulness, the tranquility, just being present and being in the grace of that flow. I don't invite y'all to hang out in that and allow it to be a reminder for you to tune into that at least once a day as an act of self-love. And then in that act of self-love, being aware that that act of self-love is actually an act of love for all of humanity. And to remember the role you play, how you impact, how beautiful you are in your light and in your being. I love this flow that you brought us into, Zoe. Thank you so much. What a wonderful call.
Yeah, it was beautiful, John. Thank you so much. And always such a gift to be here with everyone. And I was really curious these last few days as to what was going to be aligned. And yeah, always beautiful, always magical and expansive.
Always shows up in the perfect moment. Y'all, the special offer, at the very least, click on the link in the chat box as we close down the session. Have it available to you. Sign up. But if you need to think about it or can't get to it right away, it's right there for you. Come back and listen to the replay. And Zoe, I will talk to you later. All of y'all, I'll see you all on the next call. I love you all. Bow to each and every one of you, and namaste.
Blessings, everyone. Much love. Bye-bye.